3D modeling. Week 7. Congratulations, you've made it. This week, we're going to spend a little bit more time talking about materials and lighting. We're going to spend a little more time looking at nodes and kind of how you can do some interesting materials with that. We'll look at the node Wrangler plugin. We are also going to look at HDRIs and how you can do some cool lighting with that. And you will have another 1 hour model to do. It is 1 hour number 4. Let's just jump right in. I'm feeling good. Let's dive in. Okay. So let's spend a little bit more time talking about nodes. So last week we had a little bit of time to just introduce things, just generally how like the node workspace works, working left to right, filling sockets and stuff like that. But then if you watched the supplement, we also talked about how you can have a cartoon. It's like that's a very specific example of how you can create like a cartoony material. So let's dive a little bit deeper into like what's possible with nodes. So I made a new cube or a new sphere here and a plane, and let's get into our shading workspace here. So first up, I want to talk a little bit more about kind of the things you can generate. We looked briefly at them, and let's look a little bit more. So I'm gonna add with my sphere selected. Actually, I always like to do so. By default, it sticks you in material preview here in the shading workspace. But I'm kind of more of a fan of render preview because I kind of like to get at it. Right now, my render engine is set to Eevee. I'm gonna set it to cycles because I just think it's so much more exciting. My computer's panicking a little bit because I use my CPU to record the lecture, but now GPU, yes, much easier, much quicker. Okay, and you know what I'm also going to do is I really just want this to be like exactly on, oh, my scale is 1.5, and my Z should be 1.5, so it'll rest exactly on there. Nice. Okay. Let's talk about this. And actually, you know what? Let's talk about this. So let's add a material onto here. Let's add a new material. Hopefully this looks familiar to you here. Oh yes, and I should also move this back over here. We've got a principled BSDF. Now, a lot of these things, you learn through experience, but obviously the main ones are, specular roughness, transmission, emission. But anyway, let's look at just like a couple more of the textures that we can generate here. Some of the more useful ones, I think I talked about this before, but let's look at brick. No, not brick. What's the one I want? Oh yeah, let's look at Voronoi again. Voronoi. I think when the first like couple of times I was doing this, I was like Voroni. I think I've learned it's Voronoi. Okay, so this is an interesting one. So let's plug the color into the base color here like this. Great, cool. A key feature here in this particular one, and this one actually has a lot of uses, and I'll show you some of the cool things we can do with it. A key feature here is that it's able to be 3D. So notice that on my sphere here, it's like a pretty even, the shapes of the Voronoi generative material are pretty evenly spaced without. That's because this has the ability to be like projected in 3D. If I switch this to 2D, you can see that like looking straight down at it, it looks great, but then as we get close to the sides, it kind of gets like stretched out because it's like shining this texture directly on top of it. So this would be fine if we were doing a 2D texture. Texture, Voronoi, like this. 2D is fine for something flat like this, but not fine for something round. Okay, let me actually turn this off. All right, so sorry, I think I'm peeking a little bit. Back to our ball here. So to date, we've only ever put our material like into the surface of our material output, but let's, for funsies, let me actually just disconnect this here. Let's put our Voronoi texture onto the displacement of this. So let's just see what happens if I actually plug the purple into purple there. Aha. So now you can see that it's actually like giving us the illusion that these different pieces have like different elevations on this surface, and this is what displacement does. It's displacing the geometry on the surface. And so I believe that we can oh, so this is actually just changing the scale of the shapes on here. But you know, if you are familiar with like blending modes in Photoshop or Illustrator or whatever, add, subtract, multiply, those terms, you know, actually like signal the math of those things. There's other like blending modes in, you know, After Effects and Photoshop that aren't exactly math, like screen and things like that. But like add, subtract, multiply, divide is real thing. So if you know, we can Shift A and search for add shader, or not add shader, sorry, Shift A, add mix shader. No? Or maybe it's just math. Maybe I have to do math. I'll show you a shortcut in a second. But you can change. Oh. Well, I think we can do all of these, right? Yeah. So you can do some math to kind of get creative with the displacement here. I'll show you some better examples in a second. But actually, this is reminding me. I think the color works just the same, right? Distance. Just experimenting. Oh, whoa! Check that out. That looks crazy. Whoops. Ding. Sorry, I'm just messing around. This brings me to a little add-on that we can look at, and that is the Node Wrangler. If you're spending a lot of time in your Node editor or workspace, the Node Wrangler can be very useful for you. I'm going to move myself down here. So to enable the Node Wrangler, go to your Preferences menu. It's a built-in add-on. So if you go to your Add-ons tab here on the left, we're in our Preferences. You can search for Node Wrangler. Node Wrangler, and you can enable it. And actually, if you twirl it down, you can open up the Show Hotkey list. And this is a list of all the additional hotkeys you now have access to. So, and of course, like, you only will understand how to use these if you spend time using nodes. And so you can see where some of these things can be time saving over time. So, like, for example, let's see, what are some good ones? So like for me, I find myself wanting to use like the math nodes a little bit. So like merge nodes, math multiply, merge nodes, math add, merge nodes, color subtract, color multiply, color add. These would be, so like math add, Control Shift, and then number pad plus. And I think just doing a regular add is just Control number pad plus. So like add is plus. Multiply is like the star, which signals multiply. Subtract is minus. Divide is the divide. So again, I highly recommend that you have a keyboard with a 10 key. I apologize if you don't, and like all of these keyboard shortcuts infuriate you. But you can just buy a super cheap one, and I think you'll be okay. I think you'll be happy you did. And so like those are the big ones. So, and like I said, part of this is understanding what that even means. And I'll show you a little bit more detailed examples of uses of nodes in just a moment. Before we do that, I just want to show you a couple of, or one more thing. So actually, okay, I'll show this too. So like you can use a node for multiple purposes too. So like here we're using the color as the displacement of our material output. You can just bring the same node a little bit further back this way and also plug the color into the base color like this. And so, you know, we're using the color and the position node for two different uses. And, you know, you kind of have to get used to, you know, how you'd like to organize things. Some people are very organized with their nodes here. And actually, we'll see. I'll show you an example of like very neat and tidy nodes. But like for me, it's sort of like, you know, I can see that this is going behind, so it's not going to bother me that, you know, things are on top. Do be careful positioning things. So like if you add in a new node, so like if I go Control, actually no, if I do Shift A and I add a math node, and I drop it on one of these lines, it's going to put it on like in between here. And kind of potentially change things a little bit. So just be careful with that. A couple more things I want to talk about. I am actually going to just make this like, I want to make this, I'm going to take the color off. I'm actually going to delete my Voronoi texture, and I'm going to make this like super shiny and a little bit metallic like this, so it's kind of like chromed out. Okay, now we've always been working on objects, but you can actually do this with your world, like environment here. And so right, if you I didn't explain it, but on this drop down here, previously we've been on object, but you can switch this to world. And you can see that your world output has a surface and a volume. We're going to talk about volume in a second. But right now we just have the background color. So, you know, you can also change it in the world settings here and change the color to pink or something silly. Or white. But, you know, now think of the possibilities here. Let's Shift A and let's add a new. We won't do environment texture yet. We'll get to that a little later. A sky texture. Wow, check this out. What happens if we put a sky texture into surface? It's a sky texture. And, you know, it's being reflected on our silver ball here. So you can disable sun disk if you want. But it kind of just gives you sort of a natural-ish sun. And you can change like the sun elevation, have the sun like rising, sun rotation, have it going in a different direction. And the nice thing about cycles is that this is going to be, it will also light your scene. So if you're looking for like a specific like time of day, like I want to do golden hour, whatever, you can just do this sky texture right here, and it's actually pretty slick. You know, adjust the air. Oh yeah. So make it a little more orangey. Adjust the dust. Make it like a little harder to see through. Adjust the ozone. I don't know what that's doing. The altitude. Yeah. So this is like a fun thing to do with. With a lot of these generative things, materials and textures and stuff, there's like a lot of these names in here. Like right now it's Nishita, or you could do Pritham, or you can do Hosk and Wilkie. And my understanding is that these are different smart people that have come up with math equations to figure these kinds of things out. And it's all just about messing around, playing with it. Sky texture. So I think that's cool. Let me delete that. Let me Shift A, add just another Voronoi. And I'll just stick the color in the surface here too. So like obviously you can do something fun like this. Yeah, okay. Okay, cool. Actually, I'm gonna go back to the sky texture just for fun because I think it looks cool. Sky texture. Surface. I think Preetham seemed kind of cool. No. Yeah. Anyway, okay, let's talk about volume a little bit. And this may just be kind of a tease because I don't think we're gonna spend a whole lot of time with this in this class. If you're in animation, we're gonna talk about volumes a little bit more because that's how you can get like smoke and liquid simulations is with using volume. But if you keep that in mind, the volume is like what can fill the inside of a thing. So in the modeling class, we're not necessarily concerned with filling things, but that doesn't mean it won't come up. Okay, I'm gonna add a new object into my scene here. Shift A, let's add a cube, and I'm gonna G to like move it right here. Okay. And again, I'm doing all of this in cycles. Many of these features are cycles dependent, especially like the environment lighting. Like if you switch it, well, I'll just show you. So we're in cycles. Let me switch over to Eevee and show you the difference. So it does it, but it's like not as good, and also like the cube is not reflecting on my shiny surface here. So like that's the biggest thing, is that Eevee is not going to be doing the cool reflections, the cool lighting, the stuff like that. That doesn't mean Eevee doesn't have its purposes, but it's just not as realistic, not as cool. IMO. Okay. Let's add a new material onto here. And let's make this, I don't want this to be a principled. Let me just delete this. I want to Shift A, and I want a new texture, and I want a new shader, and I want a glass BSDF. Great. Okay, so now we have a glass BSDF. And once again, you can see here, Beckman, probably a really smart mathematician. Sharp is another smart person. GGX. These are like different methods for calculating the glass. They all have like tiny differences, and I think it kind of has to do with math, for lack of a better term. IOR. I looked this up, but I don't know what it stands for. Okay, anyway, the glass is our surface. I'm going to change this back to Beckman. For some reason the IOR was bothering me. What is this? How do I reset this? What was it before? Let me start over. Shift A, add a shader, add a glass. Great. 1.45. Great, that sounds normal to me. Okay. Now, because we can see inside of this, we can, let's put something in here for the volume. So there's one in here that can actually kind of demonstrate this a little bit. And let's Shift A, I'm going to add a volume scatter. And let's stick that volume to this volume. So you can see that like, yes, volume to volume is making sense. And so what this kind of does is it just sort of makes things like smoky, like foggy or dusty inside. So you can change like the density to make it like thicker. So this is like, it's still glass on the outside, but now the volume of the inside has this like scatter function on it. You can change the color of it. So, and I believe it's like, it kind of works opposites. Like if I make this pink, if I change this color to green, it's gonna, or sorry, if I make the color of the scatter pink, it's gonna make the inside look green. Because it like is scattering the opposite color. I don't exactly understand it, but if I change, as I change the density, it's getting like a little bit darker green. You can change the anisotropy value, which I think kind of changes the, like how much it shines through or how well it shines through the light. I'm not entirely sure what this does. But yeah, so like if I change this to blue, then it's turns kind of like a reddish orange. Or if I change this to green, then it changes it to purple. So it's this is kind of a funky example, but it's like we're connecting this volume scatter to the volume of the material output. Oops, and Shift A. You know, then we can add. You know, another thing, we can add a noise texture like this. Let's see, okay. And add that to the color. Is that gonna, oh yeah. that one actually looks kind of rough. Change the scale of it. Just pull, oh yeah, so this is what the volume scatter looks like without, this is just the volume. So that's actually kind of a cool effect. It's like kind of glowing a little bit, but you can kind of see that it like doesn't, as I select it, you know, there's like a gap around the edge. And you can it's like it's missing the outside of it. So anyway, oh, I clicked on the other thing. Let's just add the noise to the surface here. Yeah, that's funny. Haha, white noise. Noise texture. Okay, sorry. Let's stick the glass back on there. Texture, glass. Nope, shader, glass. And then let's do a displacement too. Let's do a texture Voronoi displacement here like this. You can have like cracks and things in the glass. I don't know. Here's another example. So like, if we want to fill the inside, the volume, you could, I mean, technically you can plug almost anything into anything here. It may not do anything interesting, but like you could add like emission here and just stick emission into volume here. And now it's like, okay, the inside of this is just all emission, which is sort of the same as this, really. I don't know. I think this actually looks kind of cool. It's like, it's glowing, but there's like cracks. You can see the cracks on the outside. And so, so speaking of volume scatter, whoops, didn't mean to do that. So we can do this with like the world. So like there's the world, you can see the world output has a volume. So if I go Shift A, let's see if this is going to chunk my computer, by the way. I can add volume scatter, VOL. I can type VOLUME scatter into volume here. And turn the density way down to like make this 0.01. And so this is like kind of a cool way to add like what do they call this? Volumetric lighting. So like it's like it's dusty in here. You can see this light glowing. So actually, why don't I add another light into the scene here? Light and an area light, you know, my favorite. And let me go to my object data properties, change the power to 500 watts, change the size to 4 meters like this, and change the angle like this. Change the angle like that. So like now you can see, you can like see this light kind of shining on the scene here, and it's like you can see the reflection. It's sort of like it's a dusty room, and I think this is a super cool way to like have drama in your scene, to do volumetric lighting, and so like play with the density a little bit, and this is where the anisotropy. Please let me know if I'm saying that wrong. A lot of these things, a lot of these like terms, I've only ever read, and so I like Voronoi. I still don't know if I'm saying it right. I think I've heard other people say Voronoi. Did you guys ever watch that show How I Met Your Mother? And Ted, he like the like lizard that can blend in with its surroundings and has camouflage, a chameleon. He calls it a chameleon because he's never heard it said out loud before, and I am way off topic. Anisotropy. Changing the anisotropy here kind of changes how far the light travels through the like dust. Kind of changes the thickness of it here, especially like with these really low density values. You can kind of start to see a difference in the anisotropy, or in the lighting. So you can see, like, to me now, it's like a bigger, like, there's like more light being seen, but it's like not any brighter. Whereas if I turn the anisotropy the other way, if I go to a positive value, it seems like it's not quite as bright, but it's maybe more spread out. I don't know. This is just something you have to experiment with. Let me change the density to 0.02. Let's see what the difference is. So it's a little bit more dense. You can even change the color a little bit. Maybe it's sort of like a pink fog. But see now, maybe this isn't going to work because now it's like casting green on the ground, which is not great. We want this to be like totally white. Cool. You would probably just want to change the color of your lights if you wanted that. If you wanted a pink light, you can do that. This one can be a red light. You don't have to. One thing that I hear from people is like, okay, so I want to actually see this light. Like I want this to be a visible light, because right now it's, we're only seeing the like effect of it in the scene. We're not actually seeing like a big bright like square. You can see it in the reflection, but you can't see it for reals. Now, in other 3D programs, you can just make lights visible, but it's actually, I think this is a shortcoming of Blender that, and correct, maybe there is, correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't seen a way that you can just make a light visible in the render. I know in Cinema 4D and in Maya, I believe you can just like flip a switch and say visible in render. But alas, it's not too difficult though. So like, you would just have to, so let me actually, let me turn off this light, area light here. Turn this off, turn this off. You just do it with emission, with an emission material. So you would just go Shift A, add a plane like this, G, move it over here, R, rotate. And you just give it a new texture. So, oops, I'm in a world here. Give it a new texture, and rather than a principled, just go Shift A, and we want a new emission shader like this. Emission. And you can G move it like this, or rotate a little bit. And again, so this is only something that can be done in Eevee, but now you just have your colored light like this. And it's basically the same thing, except it doesn't have the same properties as as a light. But here's some other cool things. So like you can see that it's got a yellow color socket here. So like, well, what if we did a Voronoi and took the color out of here like this, and now it's like, check out this cool stained glass light here. Don't know, it's kind of cool. And let's say, so okay, here's an example of using Node Wrangler. Is my recording slowing down a little bit? An example of using Node Wrangler. So like if you have a node selected and you use one of those shortcuts, it's gonna like do it to the thing to the right. Or actually, I believe if you select 2 like this, if you shift click and hold 2 like this, you can use a shortcut. So if I go like Control Shift plus, it's gonna add these things, those 2 things together. Oops, let me delete that. So like and obviously those weren't compatible things, but like if I have these 2, I can do like Control Alt plus, and it's going to do the color add. So actually here, let me do a better example here. So let me get another texture. Let's do I don't know, magic. Okay. Let's do emission surface like this. Okay. So if I have these 2 colors selected, magic and Voronoi, Control Alt is like the keyboard shortcut for a color mix. So we can do Control Alt plus, and it's going to do a color add like this. And so you can see that it does like a little add. Oops, color yellow node here, which signals color node. And we can just connect the color here like that. And so it's like, now this is a Voronoi. Oops, and it did distance, not color. Sorry. Oh gosh. Disconnect that. Connect the color here. There we go. So it's a Voronoi plus a magic. You can delete that. Now if I select these 2 and we do Control Shift minus, that's a subtract. So it's like a magic minus, or a Voronoi minus a magic. You know, etc. Control Alt divide. And I realize I don't have my key and stroke on, but I'll turn it on. Key and stroke exe. There we go. Let's go. So with these 2 selected, Control Alt star is multiply, and then you can put those together. So it takes an understanding of what those do. But as always, you know, Blender has docs that you can reference, and it's also just right here. They have the big hotkey list here in your preferences menu, and you can kind of see what these do. So like add, multiply, subtract, divide, and then there's like the color add, color multiply, color subtract, math, batch change, blend type. A lot of these I don't have a lot of experience with, but like select children, select parent, right bracket, copy label. So okay, speaking of labels and stuff, was there anything else I wanted to talk about? I think that's okay for this stopping point. Well, okay, not a stopping point, but moving on to the next topic. All right, let's talk about Polyhaven, because it really is super cool. This is not an ad. This is a genuine endorsement. 100% free. Not just free, but CC0, meaning that you can use them for absolutely any purpose without restrictions, no paywall or sign up. Okay, so I downloaded a couple of textures, and actually want to download an HDRI. Something. Oh, it doesn't really matter. For some reason, I always kind of like nighttime scenes, but maybe I'm looking for something kind of cool, like a neon photo studio, forest. I don't know. These are all so good. I feel like I like just like browsing around in here too. Anyway, let's just get Studio Country Hall, whatever. Let's do it. Okay, so you can download these right from here. there's a couple of HDR, XDR. I don't think it really makes that difference. An HDR, it says usually smaller and more widely supported than EXR, but may very rarely have less accurate colors. And EXR is a 32-bit per channel, losslessly compressed. Also, you can download. Many of these have like super high resolution. But so look, if I download a 16K EXR HDRI, it's 289 megabytes, which is a pretty large file. So 8K cuts it quite a bit. If you do HDR, it cuts it even. Oh no, the HDR is actually a larger file size. So let's just do it. I've got pretty fast internet. Let me download this 289 megabyte one. How long is it going to take? Nice, 37 seconds. Okay, cool. While that downloads, let's actually just go back to the textures, because they got some cool ones. The ones I downloaded are, I think I downloaded this wood table, and I downloaded another, this one here, this hexagonal concrete paving. And the nice thing about downloading these from Polyhaven is that they actually have a Blender file included that just kind of shows it all plugged in together. So first, let me open up the hexagonal concrete paving and open up their Blender file. And let's just see what it looks like. Whoops. Let's go over here like this. So they've got an interesting workspace that I have never used before. So why don't I just go to the shading workspace like this. Great. And do render preview like this. So something is missing. So just a heads up, what this pink means is that something isn't connected. That you're missing a image texture. So why don't I do this? Why don't I open? You know what I should probably do? Let me close this. Let's close this. Don't save it. I'm just going to extract all these. Let me go real quick. Actually, I'll pause while I do this boring stuff. Okay, so I put these in their own folder here. Now let's open this up. Let's see if this is connected. Hopefully, if I go to my shading, where is it? Here's shading. Loading? Yes, there we go. Okay, cool. Let's do render preview. All right, so zooming in on this. It looks pretty good. So like definitely some texture, in the this five senses sense that you can see that there's bumps. It feels rough. It feels right. Now, if we look at what's going on here, oops, I don't need to do that. Sorry, control space. There's a few things happening here. And they've been nice enough to organize it very neatly. So we have all of the different textures arranged here. We have UV mapping, which we're going to cover a little bit later in the semester. We have a normal map, and we have a displacement map, and we have principled BSDF, and we have our material output. So now, just to kind of clue you in, mapping, okay, back up a little further. Let's dig into the actual file we downloaded. So it came with this Blender file, but it also has this textures folder that has 4 things in it. And actually, I might be kind of small for you because I'm not zoomed in. Details. So we have a hexagonal concrete paving diff, which is a JPEG file. We have a hexagonal concrete paving disp, which is a PNG. We have the hexagonal concrete paving normal, which is an EXR file. So that's kind of like a colored data file. And then a hexagonal paving rough, which is another EXR file. So these are 4 different things that came in. So the ones I can just show you real quick. So this is the diff. So this is basically like the color of it. That's the JPEG. This one is disp, and this one is disp is for displacement, and it is showing. So remember, displacement is like how far things are sticking out, and so remember when we talk about vectors, or sorry, yes, well in Blender it's called a vector. The vector is like a value between 0 and 1, and it measures like a percentage or a decimal. So like here, and I could be getting this just like reversed, but like when those values between 0 and 1 are represented as a color, it's black or white or something in between. So this displacement map has, where it's black is where there's like holes, where the displacement is like 0, and where it's white, that's where it has the most displacement. So it's going to be like sticking out more. So that's the difference between like the color here and the displacement. That it's a black and white, and it is like showing values between 0 and 1, or like 0 and 100%, 0%, 100%. Now, this is like an artist or a designer or whoever has like worked hard to create these things. So just a reminder that like you can use these kinds of free things, because somebody went to a lot of work to make it, and it looks great, and it's free. And this, especially the ones on Polyhaven, it's like, use it for whatever you want, because we're awesome. But I want you to understand what this means. That a lot of times these things come with multiple pieces that function differently. Anyway, so back in Blender. Let's analyze a little bit further what's happening here. So again, I mentioned we're gonna cover UV mapping and stuff later, but basically what this is doing is, it's because these are the exact same size, the base color, the roughness, the normal, and the displacement are all kind of the same image, but like in different formats. All of these things are connected because they're using the same UV map. So like, if you can adjust the same, you can adjust one, and you can see it's connected to all 4 of these things. So that's what this is. That's what this mapping zone is here. Okay, let's dig a little deeper. Okay, so base color. So they've actually like labeled things nicely here. So we have the image texture, which is the hexagonal concrete paving diff. The roughness has the hexagonal paving rough. The normal has this hexagonal paving normal.png, and this displacement has the hexagonal concrete paving displacement. Okay. So one like cool thing you can do to kind of preview what all these look like, and actually, why don't I even let's put this on a plane, because I think that, whoops, maybe I should undo that. But let me add a plane like this. Scale it up. GZ, just move it down a little bit like this, and let me just add the hexagonal concrete paving to it, and then I'll delete this. Okay, great. So now it's like a little easier to see, I think. Okay, great. So yeah, we can see that it's concrete and it's, bumpy. Okay. So what you can do is you can actually just we can disconnect some of these things and just like, disconnect the normal, like do all this stuff. Let's connect all these. And to see what these are doing, you can just like plug them into the color. So like the roughness, let's just see what the roughness one looks like. Plug that in the base color. So you can see that it's, yeah, it's that white thing. Or that like gradient, you know, and actually behind my head here. Oh, actually, yeah. So let me move this. It's giving us a little preview of it. Normal. This is what the normal looks like. So the normal, you know, has this like purpley shade, but this is basically like showing us which areas are going to be affected by the light. So this is telling us that this is kind of a fancy way, or not fancy, but this is how your material knows like when a light is shining here, this part is going to be like a little darker, like it's going to be brighter. So this is a map. I'm trying to like find the words to describe this. Okay. I'm trying to look for objects. Okay, I have this coffee mug. Now, right now, I have this light in my room. And the light is like hitting here, and so it's brighter here, and there's a shadow underneath. But like if I were to move this other light and shine it here and turn this light off, then it would be bright here and dark on top. I do have this other light here. So this, like, depending on where the lights are, like the opposite side of my coffee mug are going to be differently lit. So any part of the surface that's going to be lit by the above light is going to be like in this normal map is going to be the same color. So like it's going to be this like greenish. The side would be this kind of like medium purple, because this is like would be hit by lights over here. The bottom would be like this pinkish color. And so when you put this normal map on here, it's saying, okay, like if there's a light on this side, light up all the pink areas on the normal map, and shade all of the, you know, whatever colors opposite that, this like kind of teal color. Okay, anyway, that's probably more information than you wanted. Okay, and then finally the displacement. So looking at this, we can see that I guess, you know, I don't really need to be doing this, but this is how far things are sticking out. So we can reconnect things here. So the base color goes into base color here. Roughness, the roughness map, that can just go right into the roughness socket here. The normal map, we want to take in the color here, and this normal map node converts it into a normal, and then you can stick the normal on there. Whoops, stick the normal on there. There we go. And then finally, the displacement. The color goes into, we can actually do the height, I think, like this, and then displacement goes into displacement here. And then you can actually take the normal out of here and put the normal into there. There we go. And that gives us our full Monty here. So that's like if you really want to get funky with it. Now, I do think that let's see. I do think that Polyhaven has a plugin, which I actually might just go for it eventually, because I think you can like access their library just like right in there, so you don't have to try to kind of manually plug these things in. Let's also, I'm just going to close this real quick. Don't save. I also want to look at, close this. Oh, I still have this one open. Let me don't want to save that one either. Let's open, I would just want to look at the other one, the wood table, real fast. Let's open up wood table. Okay. Shade. Let's go to the shading workspace. Render preview. Yeah, same deal. So yeah, this one looks really similar here. And actually, they do have a plane on here as well. I'm just going to delete that. So looking at, let's look at the shininess of this real quick, because this one actually looks really slick. I mean, because it looks like real wood, but it has all the same elements. So we've got the base color image going right into the base color of our principled. The roughness color of that going right into the roughness. We take the color of this normal image and convert it into a normal map. And then we've got our displacement. And so just a reminder, this is what these look like. The actual images. There's that normal. So you can see here, like especially with the normal, there's not a lot of difference with this. There's just like slightly different slight variations in the normal. Roughness. Oh yeah, so here you can get a good view of the roughness. And so this is really well illustrated here. So like remember that so let me just, if I disconnect the roughness here, you can see that it becomes like uniformly shiny. And so if I take the roughness all the way up like this, it's not going to be reflective at all. If I take the roughness way down, it's going to be super reflective. Like that. And so, by taking this roughness map, this black to white, and plugging the color in here, we're saying, okay, where it's dark, it's more rough, and where it's light, it's less rough. So it gives it a pretty ding dang good looking wood texture here, like polished wood texture. Okay. And then just for fun, okay, hold on. Let me also do this. So let's go to our, I'm going to make this a little bigger. Let's go to our world. Oh wow. And there's actually a lot going on the world here. Oh, they must have like put there was like they already had a graffiti shelter HDRI in here. So let me just delete these. And I'll delete that as well. And I'll just go add a texture. And I want an environment texture like this. And open. And then I want to find, it's in my downloads, that Studio Country Hall 16. And just plug the color right into, will that work? No, I think I do need, a Shift A shader. How was this before? Oh yeah, it was just a background shader. Okay, so background goes into surface like that, and then we plug the color into the color like this. And I believe that's all we have to do. I'm getting an error maybe. Am I freezing? Oh, you know what? My computer might just be like totally chugging with this huge background. So hold on. Well, I'll give it a second. And then I might try to download a smaller one, because 16K is quite large. Okay. Let me delete this. Delete this. Hold on. Hold your horses. Okay. Oh, the I think I realized what else was happening too. My background. I can't see my background. Yeah, okay. In the render settings here, render properties, under film, they have this transparent background turned on. Okay, so now let me go back. Let's go back to object world. I want to just remove these things, and I want to Shift A, add a environment texture. Take the color of this, stick it into that, and then open. Oh, and the other thing too is I want my strength to be 1, just like, because I want the regular color. Okay. Open, and then downloads, and then here we go, EXR. Let's open this. Hopefully it doesn't freak out. Maybe we don't want environment texture. Maybe we just want a regular image texture. Let me try that. Image texture, color. Open. Downloads, Studio Hall, open. Oh wait, maybe it's thinking. It's thinking. Let me pause while it thinks. Okay, so I realized it was the 16K that was giving me troubles. So it is in fact a environment texture like we had before. Environment texture, plug the color into the color like this. Then open, and I just grabbed the 8K one. So maybe the 16K one will work for you if you've got a powerful enough computer. But I didn't. Okay, so, and then, you can see things interacting with the light here. Okay. So the other thing too is if you're going to use a fancy HDR like this, actually, the 8K one looks pretty good. You shouldn't just attempt to put it in your scene here. Later in this semester, we are going to have an assignment related to putting a 3D object into a real picture, into a real scene. So that'll come. But if you're going to use a close-up HDR like this, maybe not a great idea, because your perspective is going to be totally off, because it's this thing is floating in the middle of space and we're in a gigantic room. So especially ones like this where it's you're in close. So you have to be really intentional with kind of your camera positioning and what's in the foreground, background, things like that. And if you're doing a really shallow depth of field too, make sure that makes sense with your background. It's if it's a really shallow depth of field, but then the background is still kind of in focus, it's going to kind of ruin the illusion a little bit. Anyway, yeah, but see, the good HDRIs are really nice too, because now it's yes, we're definitely getting light from the window here, and it's reflecting on the wood surface, and it looks perfecto. And there's there's a sunlight up above too, so not a sunlight. What do they call that? Moonlight. No, moon. What is that called? Anyway, and just so you can see it in the reflection of the table here. Okay. You have a 1-hour assignment this week, and it's well, let me put it like this. Okay, so I'm changing my mind to on the spot here, but I just took a drink out of this class, and so I was trying to come up with I want you to do something with lights and reflections and stuff, but I'll be a little bit more specific. I want you to have make a drinking glass, and use the glass preset, basically, texture preset. Use the Cycles engine, and I want you to have some lights, some lighting. Try having some interesting lighting interact with your glass. So this one's a little bit less about modeling. It's hopefully you should be able to figure out how to model just a drinking glass like this. But then spend a little bit of time. But again, not more than an hour total on the whole thing. But spend a little time with your lights, and maybe change the settings of your lights. Change the settings of your glass a little bit to see how the light interacts with it, how it's casting a shadow. Have multiple lights and things like that. So this one, your 1-hour model number 4 is a drinking glass. That is glass, using the Cycles engine, and just play with the lighting, mess with the lighting a little bit, have some fun with it. Okay, let me just double check the schedule real quick. So this is the week of October 3rd. Next week is October 10th. We will have a Zoom, and we're going to just kind of catch up on 1 hours. We'll talk about your assignment 2. which is going to be putting a model in the real world. But we'll kind of cover that assignment a little further next week. Anyway, I'm almost exactly at 1 hour, so I'm going to try to nail it. Goodbye. Good luck. Email if you have questions. Bye.